Good evening and welcome to Vsb News Online for Tuesday, March the 24th. I'm Charles Webb. Home Affairs Minister Michael Fay's revelation that the Consumer Affairs Bureau and two other government ministries are seeking to persuade the Bermuda Monetary Authority to get tough with the local banks came as a relief to the many clients who have been caught up in the hacking crisis in recent months. Although he declined to expand on the issue, Senator Fay was prepared to talk about the Bureau and the staff in Immigration Department.
I'm not going to go any further than what I put in my brief, at the risk of getting myself in difficulty with the Minister of Finance. But it's enough to say that obviously you can bring complaints to Consumer Affairs, but there's also other avenues that these things should be addressed. And working, in my view, with Consumer Affairs, BMA, and the banks, we should get a result that is helpful to everyone.
The Consumer Affairs Bureau have done remarkable work from the sound of it.
They have done an awful lot with not a lot. And I think what we've demonstrated, certainly through the Ministry of Home Affairs throughout the debate, is we do have, I believe, the second smallest budget in government. But obviously we're responsible for a massive amount of policy work and a number of areas that touch the community greatly. Most of our money is spent on staff. So we had some difficulty making required budget cuts because obviously that could have potentially meant laying off staff. So you'll have noted that in the budget. We did have to make our reductions, but we will have maintained the levels of service greatly and without significant staff reductions at all. So we continue to press on with all the work we have to do for the next fiscal year.
Are they still trying to play catch up and get all these applications and things done in a reasonable time?
Yeah, we are having to retrain and retool some staff, move them from other departments if we can, as best we can, to move some of the applications on that were unexpected. We have a dedicated team. I'm very satisfied with the team and in the ministry as a whole. We have a number of departments, and the directors work incredibly hard to see the ministry's objectives fulfilled. So I'm very happy about that.
Every minister who's ever spoken about the budget has been criticised for the delays in getting things done. You're not the only one, but are things better now than they used to be?
Oh, I think so. I think when you see the output measures of the ministry and its various departments, we have a dedicated team with a great PS, great directors, and they will continue to work hard for the people of Bermuda. I can't say enough. I can't say any more about them other than that they do a great job.
Are we asking too much of them?
I ask a lot, yes. Too much, no, because there's more to come.
The potential salmonella warnings pertaining to the Aurora and Martin's Foods products recall should not cause concern in Bermuda. This according to a Ministry of Health spokesman who says the ministry is not aware of any health issues related to the products in Bermuda. The potentially affected products include walnuts, roasted mixed nuts, salt and no salt varieties, Raisin Nut Party Mix, Cranberry Health Mix, 5K Omega Trail Mix, Foreign Bounty Trail Mix, and New Tray Assortment. Local stores have been instructed to cease distribution of these products and to remove them from their shelves. The potential for contamination was noted after routine testing by an outside company contracted by the Food and Drug Administration revealed the presence of salmonella in one container of natural walnuts products. Residents are advised, out of an abundance of caution, to visit the U.S. Food and Drug Administration webpage in order to see the list of products recalled. Consumers who may have any of the listed products are urged not to eat them and to destroy the product or return them to the point of purchase. The Senate passed the payroll tax increases contained in the budget yesterday, but not before the senators from the opposition and independent sides had expressed the hope that the employers would help their employees pay the rollback. Independent Senator James Jardine was confident they would.
I understand why government is having to raise the payroll tax by 0.50%. I too was concerned and am concerned that, and again it's not really part of this bill, but since it's been mentioned, I'll mention it myself. I too was concerned that the rolling back of the 5.5%, what is now 5.5% concession to the retailers would mean that the employees would pick that up or would have that deducted from their salary. I have to believe, in all honesty and sincerity, that the retailers who are now faced with this rollback will share this expense with their employees and will not expect them to absorb 100% of this tax. And I wish to reiterate that again. In fact, I would hope that they would take actually more than 50% if you look at the apportionment of taxes that they normally pay. Support this bill because I think, again, it is part and parcel of what government has to do in order to reduce the deficits which we seem to be incurring year after year after year after year. And we need to do that in order to get to a balanced budget and be able to deal with our long-term debt.
One of Bermuda's major telecommunications companies has suffered a $20 million loss in 6 months after being required by the Bermuda Regulatory Authority to divest itself of the ownership of the island's land telephone company. Vsb News' Brian Darby has the facts.
The Keytech group of companies today announced the loss of $19.9 million for the 6 month period ending September the 30th, 2014, compared with earnings of $6.4 million over the same period of the previous year. The loss was related to the sale of BTC. Keytech CEO Lloyd Cray said that during the 6 month period, the Keytech was focused on ongoing transformation of its operating entities. The telecommunications market in Bermuda and Cayman, he said, were both faced with technological obsolescence and competitive pricing pressure. The group's subsidiaries and associates were also subject to constraints imposed by the Bermuda Regulatory Authority. As a result, Keytech acquired Botcat Holdings Limited, which consolidated the market in Cayman and increased Logic Cayman's customer base, which they continue to build a fiber network island-wide. In Bermuda, this transaction increased Keytech's shareholding in Bermuda Cablevision Limited, whose network is a coaxial fiber hybrid, which can be upgraded more efficiently and cost-effectively than a copper network. The Bermuda Regulatory Authority's approval for this transaction was contingent upon Keytech divesting ownership of the Bermuda Telephone Company. The reason for this condition was to prohibit Keytech from having a controlling interest in both of Bermuda's residential access providers for any period of time.
And we'll be back with more news right after this.
The Marketplace Food Court is you and your family's one-stop shop. Start your day at the Breakfast Bar with omelets made to order and traditional Bermuda codfish breakfast. The chefs will cook lunch and dinner to your liking. Along with the salad bar, sandwich bar, sushi bar, and fruit bar, the Marketplace Food Court is your kitchen away from home. Every day is hassle-free with nutritious meals from the Marketplace Food Court. Visit us 7 days a week. Homemade cooking, quality service, all at prices you can count on.
Both political parties have favored the idea of having firms that apply for work permits also take on Bermudians as apprentices. And in fact, there's an element of this attached to the granting of hotel concessions. Senator Diallo Raban, leader of the opposition in the upper house, feels strongly about the training issue.
There's still the trainee programs that are located within, especially the hospitality, you do have them, but they still have to apply for them. And from my understanding, it's not necessarily has to be pegged one permit per trainee. You can have trainee positions that you apply for, and you're given payroll tax concessions and the like. But we're talking about a hotel that's already getting those concessions based on training. So there will be some training built into it. But Brian, what I'm saying is, how can we 18 months, 2 years out say that 50% of the staff will be non-Bermudian? What happened to the application process to say, I have not found a suitable Bermudian? So basically we're sending the message that don't bother to apply because we're not hiring you anyway. When we have statements like that, and it's very dangerous for us to have statements like that.
Something has driven Bermudians away from the hotels. I hope it's not this issue that has come up politically of don't be a servant. The service brings with it a certain shame. That should not be the case in a modern world.
Well, it's interesting that you mention that, because when we debated the labor study last year, and we talked about it today, one of the things that I mentioned that was missing from all of the wonderful reports that they submitted was that there was very little to do with interviewing former people who worked in the hospitality industry. Now, both you and I know that Bermudians made up the majority of the force in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and they made out very well. You have some older gentlemen and ladies throughout Bermuda who had made a very good living working in the hospitality industry. But these are the very ones who are telling their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, don't go into that field. Now, what has happened for someone who has worked there all their life, made a good living from it, enjoyed working there, to all of a sudden say, don't go into that field? Why wouldn't we want to talk to them as well and find out their perspective? Why would this survey only spend most of its time talking to employers? I mean, obviously the employers are going to say what they have to say because they want employees and they want employees to work for as little money as possible. Why not talk to both sides of the coin? It's once again, it highlights what we continuously drive down here is the One Bermuda Alliance version of collaboration just doesn't seem to be full collaboration. It's about talking to who they want to talk to and then drawing conclusions from that. Or it seems like they're deciding what they want to do and then trying to figure out how can we present this in a way where it seems like everyone wants to go with it. True collaboration is being able to go into a room, entertain dissenting thought, and discuss the merits of what you're trying to do in an honest and forthright manner.
40 years ago, after teaching science at the Berkeley Institute by virtue of her degree in bacteriology and immunology, and with no business experience, Sheila Robertson opened Bermuda's first specialty luggage and leather goods store and named it the Harbor Master. But as she told Vsb News' Brian Darby, she had taken the sensible precaution of finding a mentor, attending a business and accounting course on the U.S. Naval Air Station, and selecting a line of goods that everyone needed.
I think it's very important if you're going to go into business to plan ahead and think about it and take it seriously. There's always been a tendency to think, oh well, sort of all you have to do is, get a bit of merchandise, stick it in a store, and just magic happens. And it isn't like that at all. And most people don't really have any idea just how complicated a business retail is, because there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes activity, and when you're in small business, you tend to have to do it all yourself. So it means you've got to kind of pull on all kinds of different skills, and if you don't have those skills, you've got to go and get those skills.
But you did. You went and talked to some people and made some friends.
Yes, the interesting thing was the opportunity I actually wrote to the owner of a business in Canada where I had shopped when I was a student. And I didn't know the people at all. I just wrote them in a letter and said, can I come and visit? And they wrote back and said, sure. So I went and I had a conversation with them, just asking about business and for ideas and so on and so forth. And what was really interesting was that they agreed to let me come back the following summer and spend a month in their store, because I was teaching at the time, so I had the summers off. And I spent a month in their store, and Mr. Beaufoy gave me access really to anything I wanted to know. So I had access to his files of suppliers. He showed me how to do the retail method of budgeting, which is how you plan how much you need to buy in order to sell enough to pay your expenses and pay all the cost of the merchandise and plan it over a year. And that was an invaluable experience.
And a great compliment to him, too.
Well, yes, but he did say actually he wouldn't have done it for anybody else sort of in his immediate neighborhood who might be competition. But because I was so far away, he said yes. And so having a mentor like that in the beginning, I'm sure made a big difference.
But you also went to the college and got some, well, it wasn't college in those days, it was Southside, wasn't it?
Yes, one of the advantages of having the U.S. Naval Base here is that they had an extension program for the University of Maryland, which was open not just to American service people, but to anybody in the island. So I did 2 sort of introductory accounting courses and about 4 other general business courses. But the accounting has stood me in good stead for years, because I think it's key if you're in business that you understand the numbers. And I think so often people get into trouble because they don't really know whether they're making any money or not. And, if you're not making money, you should get out of business as quickly as possible.
Obviously, you never had that problem.
Well, I've been fortunate.
As part of this year's celebration of the United Nations International Women's Day, a reception was held at Government House to honor women who work in the shipping industry. 12 women who worked in different areas of the maritime business were recognized for their achievements by Governor George Ferguson and the Minister of Culture and Sports, Patricia Gordon Pamplin. Bermuda health officials are being trained this week by representatives from the Caribbean Public Health Agency on how to analyze the data that has been collected and the steps to a Well Bermuda survey. This survey, which was launched in November 2013, combines self-reported data and objective measurements to determine the prevalence of the risk of such chronic diseases as diabetes, heart disease, and cancer in Bermuda's population. These are among the leading causes of death in Bermuda and take a large slice of the cost of the healthcare system. Fortunately, many are preventable and respond well to lifestyle changes, provided there is a timely access to accurate and reliable information. And now it's time for the VSB Sports Report with Earl Based.
The 2015 Bermuda Open Golf Championships got underway at the Port Royal Golf Course yesterday in fairly ideal conditions. There was light wind out of the southeast, but as the day wore on, the players began to play under partially overcast skies that eventually turned to rain. American Jim Little leads the professional division after shooting an opening round 5 under par 66. Another American, Nicholas Bedo, is in second alongside Patrick Rada, also from the United States. They both shot 2 under par. Kamiko Smith leads the Bermuda group of players after his opening round of 2 over par 73 that sees him in 15th place, while Michael Sims is in 18th after his round of 4 over par. The Bermuda flag holds the top 4 positions in the Open Amateur Division. Mark Phillips and Debian Paliande both shot opening rounds of 3 over par 74s. Joshua Cabrera, Jeff Piggott, and Englishman Jeff Findle all shot 7 over par 78s. Bill Pitt leads the First Flight Division after an opening round of 13 over par 84. Timothy James is in second after shooting 16 over par, and Kavon Trott is in third after an opening round of 19 over par. The FEI, the world governing body for equestrian sport, this week confirmed that Bermuda, as a country, has gained 2 individual places for show jumping and 1 individual place for dressage for the forthcoming Pan American Games to be held in Toronto this summer. The show jumping places were gained by virtue of the excellent performances of 2 of Bermuda's European-based riders over the past year. Patrick Nisbet and Gillian Teixeira, who virtually every week during both the outdoor and indoor seasons compete in international level competitions throughout Europe, thereby gaining valuable points to be recognized on the Longings sponsored world ranking points list. However, places are awarded to the country and not to individual riders, but in Bermuda's case, it is most likely that Nisbet and Teixeira will be the riders representing Bermuda in Canada in jumping. The place for dressage was gained by participation in the Central American and Caribbean Games held last November in Jalapa, Mexico, where rider Virginia McKee placed sufficiently high enough to gain the spot. However, the place was awarded to the country and not the individual rider, and this situation is further complicated in that the place can be competed at the pre-St. George test level or higher Grand Prix levels. Actual representation will not be decided until the summer for Bermuda. The Bermuda Football Association late yesterday afternoon issued a press release stating that the Leagues and Competition Committee have decided to move 3 Premier Division matches scheduled for the final day of the season, April 5th, to March 31st. The matches between Southampton Rangers taking on Somerset Trojans up at Somerset Cricket Club will now be played at 8 p.m. at the Somerset Cricket Club on March 31st. Also on March 31st, with the 8 p.m. kickoff, it will see Flanagan's Onions host Dandytown Hornets at the BAA Field. Over at the Devonshire Recreation Club, Devonshire Cougars will host the North Village Rams. The 2 games remaining on April 5th include St. George's Colts taking on Robin Hood at the Wellington Oval and PHC Zebras hosting Hamilton Parish at the PHC Stadium. Following a weekend of intense First Division football, the title and promotion battles have now been decided. We can take a look at how the league finished and the leading goal scorers. The First Division title went to the Boulevard Blazers with 43 points. Devonshire Colts gained promotion after they finished second with 41 points, while BAA finished third with 40 points. Ian Coke from the Boulevard Blazers finished as the league-leading goal scorer with 22 goals, while teammates Ty Vince Douglas finished second with 17 goals. Lisandro Simon from the Devonshire Colts from the back of the net 16 times. Kyle Webb, representing Central Arizona at the Willie Williams Classic track and field event, he finished second in Heat 2 of the men's 200 meters, crossed the line at a time of 21:29. It saw him finish 5th overall. He ran the second leg for the Central Arizona men's 4x100 relay team that clocked the fastest time of 39:99. The 4 Bermuda cricket players, Shari Smith, Sheldon Caesar, Cameron Jeffers, and Antoine Seaman played their final game in the Ontario cricket team's tour of Sri Lanka. The Ontario cricket team took on St. Joseph College, putting in their best performance as a team. The Ontario cricket team batted first and were bowled all out for 138 in 30 overs of the 45-over match. Smith was the top scorer with 31. Jeffers was on 8 not out when the inning ended. Caesar and Seaman failed to score. In reply, St. Joseph College scored 142 for 8 in 27 overs. Jeffers returned bowling figures of 9 overs, 4 for 46, while Smith bowled 5 overs. He took 1 for 18. In women's field hockey over the weekend, it was the Ravens 3, the Bluebirds 1. The Ravens 1, Budgies 1, Wildcats 0, Longtails 0, Budgies 3, and the Swallows 0. In ball hockey action, it was the Quebec Nordiques 3, California Golden Seals 4, Minnesota North Stars 4, and the Colorado Rockies 2. I'm Earl Baisden reporting for VSB Sports.
Looking at the weather for Wednesday, March the 25th, there will be a mix of sun and cloud. Winds will be northerly and moderate, varying northeasterly moderate in the evening, decreasing east-northeasterly light to moderate overnight. We're expecting a high near 65 and a low near 60. This weather forecast is courtesy of the Bermuda Weather Service. Thanks for watching VSB News Online for Tuesday, March the 24th. I'm Charles Webb.